This is Thursday morning, coffee and Kavanah. I'm Rabbi Ed Feinstein of Valley Beth Shalom. I'm delighted to wish you a good morning. Among the Israelites came out of Egypt with Moses were two of my ancestors. Call them Beryl and Shmerel. Beryl and Shmerel had been slaves for so long, they learned only to look down, never to look up. Slaves never look up. They're not allowed to look up. So when Beryl and Shmerel followed Moses out of Egypt and got to the shore of the Red Sea, and they stepped into the sea as it split and the great miracle of redemption was happening, Beryl said to Shmerel, "Nu, what do you see?" And Shmerel said, "I see mud. I look down and I see mud." And Beryl said, "Yeah, we had mud in Egypt. There's mud here. There was mud there. What's the big deal about liberation?" And when Beryl and Shmerel arrived at Mount Sinai, and God spoke the words of the Ten Commandments, Shmerel said to Beryl, "What do you hear?" He said, "Someone is shouting instructions." "Yeah, they shouted instructions in Egypt. They shout instructions here. Revelation. What's the big deal?" And when Beryl and Shmerel crossed the Sinai and were about to arrive in the promised land, Beryl asked Shmerel, "Nu, how do you feel?" He said, "Honestly, my feet hurt. My feet hurt too. You know, my feet hurt in Egypt. My feet hurt here. Promised land. What's the big deal? Let's go back to Egypt." And they turned around and they went back. And according to our family tradition, they're still wandering somewhere around the Sinai Peninsula. A slave only looks down and never looks up. And because a slave only looks down and never looks up, he can't see the miracles that are happening all around him. It was the great Albert Einstein who once said, "We don't know who discovered water, but we know this: it wasn't a fish, because a fish is born into water, swims in water, spends his whole life in water, and never knows anything about water. We swim in the medium of miracles. Miracles happen to us all the time. We just don't notice them. We swim in the medium of miracles the way a fish swims in water, and we open our eyes, or like Beryl, never lift up our vision to see what's really happening to us. Miracles of waking up in the morning and starting a day, miracles of family and friends about us, miracles of prosperity, of health, of plenty to eat, and people who care for us. We're in the middle of a crisis, and it seems now so many things are just going wrong. This disease is raging outside, and we're all filled with fear as friends begin to succumb and people we care for are ill. There's a financial crisis, and no one knows what tomorrow's going to bring. Will we have our savings? Will we have enough? Will there be toilet paper in the supermarket tomorrow? We're all kind of worried. And we're in the midst of a social crisis, isolated from each other, separated, unable to offer comfort and strength. And we're feeling that catastrophe. But you have to look up, because catastrophe and crisis, as difficult as it is to bear the burden, also tends to sometimes bring out the best in people. I spent time yesterday speaking to a friend who's a physician, a doctor. He's working incredibly long hours. He's putting his own health at risk, but in a self-sacrificing commitment to his patients, to health, and to well-being, he's healing people. He's caring for people. He's bringing gentleness where there is pain and bringing peace where there is worry. I talked to friends who reached across the street and found a neighbor who didn't have enough to eat and brought her food. I've seen people in the supermarket share with each other, remarkably gifts of sharing with one another. Sometimes catastrophe brings out the best in us. Yes, no one asked for catastrophe and no one wants to live through it. But sometimes, if we look up and not just down, we can see the miracles that are about us. I pray that when all this is over and we go back to what we used to call normal, I pray that we don't forget what we've learned during the time of this catastrophe. What have we learned? How much we mean to each other, how much we need each other, how incredibly important the community, neighborliness, and friendship is to all of us, how important family is to all of us, how important it is to be able to reach across to another human being and just say, I hope you're doing okay. What it means to be generous, to be forgiving, and to be kind. Let's never forget what this catastrophe has taught us. Let's never forget to look up and see the miracles that surround us. I wish you a good Thursday. I wish you a good Shabbos. And if we don't see each other, a happy, healthy, and sweet Pesach. Take good care.